A World Health Organization Global Status Report on Alcohol 2004 stated that Uganda had one of the highest alcohol and substance abuse rates in the world. But according to a study published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Institute on Drug Abuse in 2020, found out that 3 out of 4 people who experience addiction eventually recover. Unfortunately, people often only see the destructive side of the addiction, including crime, death, and family members spiraling downward, hence making the people who survive the illness and rebuild their lives less visible. One of the youths battling addiction, whose name was requested not to be mentioned, narrates how he got to start using drugs.
I was in senior one, I was so lousy. I was that lousy student, that lousy character. So when my friends are washing at 4:40 when you're out of class, I used to be playing around with other kids. So late in the night, when the rest are sleeping, I pull out my shirt to wash for the next day. So when I was washing at night, there was another group of Form 6 boys who used to be in the last bathroom. You could hear their voices. So I used to wash from another bathroom. So I was so curious to know, like, what are they doing? Are they also washing? So I kept on going to them. So later on they got used to me and we became friends. So one of them was like, come on boy, you can try it. So he gave me a joint.
He adds that there is nothing good he has achieved from using drugs.
My first school where I was in Entebbe, I was expelled. Even before the expulsion, I was caught by the police. Right now I'm struggling to catch up with my education. When I reached senior 2, I gave up. They said education is not my thing. I gave up on it. I closed the books. But where I live, the village, when they go to now do drugs, they started distancing themselves. You see someone used to talk to, someone used to say hey to you these days. They look at you with some attitude. Before you hold a blunt, you go to internet to search about what drugs can do. Because I know what drugs can do now.
Undergoing therapy at Hope and Beyond Rehabilitation Center has had a great impact by enabling him reflect on his life more, a thing he used not to do under the influence of drugs.
Therapy has had a good, very big of it, because everything I went through before mattered to me. Because to me, I'm like, it has happened. I never reflected back. But this is a place where I've come to sit calm, think about all that was happening in life, and I see that's not the life I desire.
𝐾𝐫𝐿, a counselor at Hope and Beyond Rehabilitation Center, says that mostly adolescents suffer from the disease known as addiction.
The adolescents are affected most because this is the time when they are discovering more. This is the time when they are growing socially, emotionally. They are having a lot of issues. They want to be in charge of everything. Sometimes they feel they are not understood maybe by their caretakers at home or the parents. So they feel they want that autonomy. So when they go into the ghettos, they are welcomed. And when they put on this drug, they feel they are on the top of the world. So they are much taken up, and at this level they can be easily deceived.
According to 𝐶𝐶, very few embrace therapy and majority are forced, since this is a disease of comfort.
Within this disease of addiction, they are comfortable with their situation. They are in a comfort zone. Many of them do not embrace this therapy, and this is evident in the way we receive them. Majority of them never brought themselves. It is hard to see, and the percentage you may find that only between 2 to 5% will agree on coming for this therapy. But 95%, others are brought by police, others are tricked.
He emphasizes all, starting with families, community, and finally religious interventions to help the youth go through a demanding age successfully.
Therapy only may not be very effective. For full recovery, we need the family to come in, we need the community to come in, we need maybe the religious aspects to come in. It's kind of integration that can be effective. So we need sensitization to the families and the communities. That is the most important thing we need to do to curb it at an early age.
Chizito, a parent to an addict, says it hurts that his child is battling a disease that hinders majority of people from succeeding in life.
It feels so bad. It is hurting because basically when you look at people, because I relate to my own situation, when I look at people who are using drugs, I've never seen anyone succeed, in life.
He earlier on tried out measures that only worsened his son's condition instead of seeking professional help.
The thing that came to my mind or that I thought would work out was I could tell this boy, and in case he wanted to he felt the cravings or the urges to take, he could sit at home and I provide something soft because his drug or his drink was the hard liquor, this thing that they cook in the ghettos, the waraji. Sometimes I could wake up and I find he's nowhere. Probably I learned that you could just go back to the colleagues and continue drinking.
He says it all goes back to the parenting and advises parents to play their role to help curb the disease.
I've just couldn't realize that there are things that I used to do that I thought I was doing out of love, not knowing that I was damaging him. I used to care for him a lot, which I'm not saying is bad. Money was to his disposal, and without asking for accountability for it. And probably the time I was giving him, I thought that by paying school fees, by providing all he needed, that's all that could help him, could shape him. And I must say, I'm sorry to say, but I think the time that I was giving to him wasn't enough. And I thought all could be done at school. There's a time I sat with him, tried to listen to him. He told me there are times he needed to talk to me, but I wasn't there. So I could urge parents that possible find out some time for your kids, because it's not all about finances, but there is a bit that dictates almost all, the emotional bit, because the way we feel, dictates how we behave.
It is known that 30% of patients who get admitted in Uganda are actually battling with addiction. But there is hope, since 3 of every 4 people get cured and rebuild their lives. Let's join together, families and community, to fight this vice that is eating up the youth in the country. Atim, Barbra, Media Premier Hub.